Have you ever walked away from a conversation thinking, how did I become the bad guy? You were kind. You were calm. You just wanted peace. And still, somehow, you ended up hurt. Let's talk about that, because if you're a kind woman who's been told you're too sensitive, too emotional, or even too much, you're not alone. And you're not imagining it. There's a dark truth here that rarely gets talked about. People take advantage of kind women, especially older women, because they assume you won't fight back. You've lived a life of keeping the peace. You've been the caregiver, the good wife, the steady friend, the patient mother. And while that's beautiful, it's also what certain people use against you. Let me give you an example. I worked with a woman named Linda. She was in her early 60s, divorced, and trying to rebuild a peaceful life. Her grown son would constantly call her only when he needed money. Never to check in. Never to say thank you. And when she tried to gently set a boundary, just say, I can't keep doing this, he accused her of being cold, of not supporting her own child. She hung up the phone that day and cried. Not because she'd been cruel, but because she'd tried to be honest. And that honesty got twisted into guilt. Sound familiar? Here's the thing, kindness isn't weakness. But to manipulators, it looks like an opportunity. They spot your empathy. Your willingness to give people the benefit of the doubt. Your ability to forgive, even when you're exhausted. And instead of respecting that, they exploit it. In romantic relationships, it often starts with small things. You make compromises. You stay quiet during arguments to keep things calm. You let the little comments slide. You tell yourself, he's stressed. He doesn't mean it. But over time, your voice shrinks. Your needs disappear. And the relationship becomes one-sided. Now here's where it gets really unfair. When kind women finally do speak up, when they say, this doesn't feel okay anymore, people act shocked. Like, where's this coming from? You've never complained before. They don't see the 1,000 times you stayed silent. They don't see the nights you couldn't sleep because your heart was aching but you didn't want to be a burden. And when you finally draw a line, they call you difficult. They call you ungrateful. They call you everything but what you actually are, brave. Let that sink in. Kindness is a beautiful trait. But when it's not paired with boundaries, it becomes a magnet for users, guilt trippers, and emotional manipulators. If this is resonating, just breathe for a moment. You're not broken. You're not crazy. You're someone who's been conditioned to believe that your needs don't matter as much as keeping others happy. But your needs matter. Your peace matters. And being kind doesn't mean being silent. Let's start to unlearn that idea, gently, together. Because there is a way to stay kind and still protect yourself. There's a way to say, I love you, but I won't let you hurt me anymore. And no, it's not selfish. It's called self-respect. In the next part, we'll talk about how to recognize the patterns, those subtle little traps that keep you stuck. And what to do, even if you feel afraid to speak up. But for now, I just want you to hear this. It wasn't your fault for being kind. It's their fault for taking advantage of it. And that's a truth worth saying out loud. Let's go deeper into this, because the emotional patterns kind women face, especially after 60, don't always show up as obvious abuse. It's not someone yelling at you. It's not always cruel words or slamming doors. Sometimes, it's the quiet digs. The, oh, I guess you're too busy for me now. The you've changed. The guilt that sneaks in after you try to take one small step back to breathe. A woman I spoke with, her name was Carol, she told me her daughter, now in her 40s, would only ever visit when she needed help watching the grandkids. No how are you, no real conversation. Just drop-offs and pickups. And the moment Carol tried to say she was tired, that she needed a weekend to herself, her daughter snapped. Well, if you don't want to be part of their lives, that's your choice. That right there, that's not love. That's manipulation. It's love with strings. And kind women often get trapped in those strings because they don't want to disappoint the people they care about. You've probably been taught, maybe for decades, that good women sacrifice. That being selfless is the highest form of love. But no one ever told you what happens when selfless becomes voiceless. And this is the dark truth. There are people, even in your own family, who rely on your silence to keep their control. So how do you start breaking free without losing your compassion? It begins with noticing. Noticing when someone only calls you when they need something. Noticing when your no is met with silence, pouting, or punishment. Noticing how often you shrink to keep things smooth. And here's something practical you can try, a sentence you can use when you feel guilt creeping in. I care about you deeply. But I also have to care for myself, too. You don't have to defend it. You don't need to over-explain. That one sentence is enough. And if they make you feel bad for saying it? That's a sign. Not of your failure, but of their expectations. Now, I know for many of you, the idea of conflict is terrifying. Especially if you grew up in a home where peace was everything, even if it meant pretending. But conflict isn't the enemy. You can disagree with someone and still be loving. You can say no, and still be kind. Think of it this way. When you say yes to everyone else, all the time, without checking in with yourself, who's saying yes to you? Let's take it to the workplace, too. I can't count how many women I've heard from who stayed late, took on extra tasks, helped fix everyone else's mess, and still got passed over or blamed when something went wrong. And the worst part? When they finally speak up, they're called emotional. Or not a team player. Because kind women aren't supposed to get angry, right? That's the trap. You're expected to be agreeable, not assertive. Helpful, but never ask for help. Supportive, but never say, I'm exhausted. But here's the truth I want you to hold close. It is not unkind to speak your truth. It is not selfish to rest. It is not wrong to ask for fairness, in your home, your family, your relationships. There's power in your voice, even if it shakes. And I know, change can feel scary. Especially when you've spent years, maybe decades, being the one everyone leaned on. But you deserve to be seen. Fully. Not just as someone's mother, wife, coworker, or helper, but as a whole person. In the last part, we'll go even deeper into what healing looks like, the quiet strength that comes with reclaiming your boundaries, and how to walk away from roles that only drain you. But right now, just know this. You can still be a kind woman, and say enough is enough. And that doesn't make you cold. It makes you conscious. Let's take a breath here. Because if your heart is heavy right now, if you're sitting there thinking, I've done this. I've let people walk all over me for years, I want you to know something. You are not weak. You were loving. You were hopeful. You believed that if you gave enough, cared enough, stayed soft enough, they would see you. But the dark truth is, some people don't want to see you. They just want to use you. And that's not your fault. That's on them. Now here's what I really want to say to you. It's not too late to change how this story ends. You don't have to become someone else. You don't have to harden your heart. But you can learn to protect it. Let me tell you about Joan. She's 67. She spent most of her adult life bending for others. Her husband made every decision. Her grown son never called unless he needed money. Her coworkers always dropped tasks on her desk like she had nothing else going on. One day, after a sleepless night and a quiet cry in her car, Joan told herself, this is not how my story ends. She started small. She didn't pick up every phone call. She paused before saying yes. She stopped explaining herself to people who never listened anyway. And something incredible happened. The people who truly loved her adjusted. They showed up. They listened. But the ones who only wanted her compliance? They got uncomfortable. And here's the truth, when you start setting boundaries, the ones who benefited from your lack of them will resist. That doesn't mean you're wrong. It means the dynamic is shifting. If someone gets angry when you stop overgiving, it means your overgiving was their benefit. So here's something gentle, but firm, you can say when someone pushes your limits. I'm not available for that anymore. You don't owe them a list of reasons. You don't need their permission to protect your peace. And if you're thinking, but won't I lose people? Maybe. But ask yourself this, are those the people I want to keep? You see, the beautiful thing about aging, especially after 60, is that you start to see time differently. You realize your peace, your energy, your joy, they are sacred. You've spent enough birthdays making everyone else happy. Enough holidays biting your tongue. Enough decades shrinking yourself just to keep things nice. Now? You get to be honest. You get to be whole. You get to be free. Kindness and boundaries can live in the same woman. Soft hearts can have strong voices. And you don't have to scream to be heard. Sometimes, the most powerful thing you can say is no more. So if you're watching this on your phone, maybe curled up in bed, maybe hiding in the bathroom for a quiet moment, maybe wondering if you're the only one who feels this tired. You're not. There are thousands of women watching this too. Nodding. Tearing up. Realizing they're not crazy. Not broken. Not too much. They're just finally waking up. So here's what I'll leave you with. You are not asking for too much. You are asking for what's fair. You are not too sensitive. You're finally paying attention. You are not selfish. You are self-aware. And you are not alone. You deserve peace. And it's not too late to claim it. If anything in this video resonated with you, I'd love to hear, quietly, in your own words, what part felt true. Share it in the comments if you feel safe to. Or just take a deep breath and whisper to yourself, I see me now. That's where healing begins.